So I just woke up realizing that I don't have a job. I'm unemployed. Wow. I don't think people are going to hire me because I'm 58 and I'm a woman.
It's 2025, and the new reality is that people in their mid-50s, late 50s are the new unemployables. You might be able to, grab part-time gigs or low-level jobs, but nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to hire somebody who's 57, 58, 59, 60 years old for any kind of an important job.
Older people are not hired a lot of times because of younger bosses. Younger bosses don't want to be working with us oldsters. Our salary expectations are too high. Our health benefits are too high. And then you're close to retirement, so they don't want to take the time to train you. And speaking of training, they think that people over 50 have no idea how to turn on a computer.
Yeah, they want us to be Walmart greeters. I've given up trying to find a job now in my 50s because I've been told crap like I'm overqualified. I've been told we're going to go another way.
The new reality is that people in their late 50s and 60s are really the new unemployables. I already lost my 32-year corporate job, but what I'm hearing when I do these posts is that people are having a tough time getting a job. And it seems to be unlikely that they're going to get a job at the same pay rate that they were making for however long, 32 years like me. They're just not going to make that same amount of money. And people don't want to employ people that are over 57. They say that ageism is illegal. And we all know that it's still happening, don't we? So you need to be prepared. What are you going to do if it ends today? What are you going to do?
Many older workers have found it challenging, to say the very least, to get their jobs back after the pandemic dramatically altered the work environment everywhere. Age discrimination has become the question. This information and so much more comes from a recent survey hosted by AARP. Well, this is disturbing information. How did you feel about the results of the survey, and what has it taught you?
Well, it is sad because we all know that age discrimination, like other forms of discrimination, is wrong. It's illegal in all jurisdictions at both the federal and state level, and yet it continues to happen. We know from our AARP research that 62% of workers 50 and older have experienced or witnessed age discrimination in the workplace recently.
Older workers, and I'm one of them, have so much wisdom and expertise and knowledge and maturity, and I would think that would move them kind of to the top of the chain. So what are some of the signs we're seeing for age discrimination?
Yeah, you're right. There's so much value that older workers can offer in any labor market, but especially in a tight one. When you hear employers saying that they have a hard time finding qualified workers, older workers can be some of the best workers you'll have regardless of position. But yet we see things in the workplace like being denied opportunities for promotion in favor of younger workers, or having the employer invest in younger workers when it comes to training or more choice assignments. Those things can be signs of age discrimination.
It's 2025, and the new reality is that people in their mid-50s, late 50s are the new unemployables. Like, I am fortunate right now that I have a gig, but if I lost it, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and from all the comments I'm getting on my posts, it's like, if you get blown out of your job, if you get laid off, fired, downsized, whatever it is, aged out, which is a very common thing, it's almost impossible to land another job at your current level. You can almost kiss it goodbye. You might be able to, grab part-time gigs or low-level jobs, but nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to hire somebody who's 57, 58, 59, 60 years old for any kind of an important job. They can say ageism is illegal all they want. They can make believe that it's kumbaya and we love everybody and we're all equal. And no, it doesn't work like that. Younger people, first of all, think that older people are not smart. They're not quick enough. Maybe they can't type good with their thumbs, whatever it may be. They don't think that older people are smart or equipped to handle work in the new world. That's just the way it is. They think they're smarter. They want somebody younger who's maybe has more energy, is going to definitely cost less money, and they're going to go that route. They're not going to hire you or me. So have to prepare for this, right? Have to prepare. If it ends today, what do you do? What do? I don't know. Very Very important, very sad, but we have to figure a way out of this thing.
You know, you would think that companies would prefer to hire older people because older people have more experience. And what do we all hear all the time? You need more experience, you need more experience, you need more experience. And all the younger people saying, well, how do I get the experience without having the job? So if you have someone who's 50, 60, 40, you would think the companies would go, okay, this person has a lot of experience, they know what they're doing, let's hire them. But honestly, it just sounds like companies are being a little bit too picky because they don't want anyone that's too young and they don't want anyone that's too old. So you have to fit in this weird middle category where maybe you're, I don't know, early 40s to, or let's say mid to late 20s to early 40s, and that's all they want. He also said that if you're unemployed in your 50s that you're not going to be able to find a job at your current level. I think that depends on what your industry is and what you specialize in. I would imagine that in certain professions, the older you are, the better to a point. For example, a CPA, for example, a surgeon, for example, a pilot. These are professions that require a very high level of, the more experience you have, the more likely you are going to choose that person. So if you're shopping around for a doctor, let's say, or let's say you need to have a surgery done, like a brain surgery or heart surgery, do you want the new person that just got out of residency, or do you want the surgeon who's been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, who has done hundreds, maybe thousands of successful procedures? Personally speaking, I'm going to choose the doctor or the surgeon who has more experience. If I want someone to fly me from one point to another point across the ocean, I want someone who has flight experience. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. If I'm dealing with a nurse, even a teacher, for example, I want a teacher who has experience. But let's be honest, if you're talking about a white collar job, a lot of times companies are going to look for people who are a bit younger. Why? Because when it comes to like white collar jobs and admin work, unless you're like at a C-suite level or director level, or even maybe a advanced manager level, a lot of that work doesn't require a lot of experience. That stuff can kind of be learned. So they're going to want to hire someone who may be a little bit younger, who they can train quickly to learn that stuff to then do the admin work. They're not going to want someone who they would have to pay 3, 4, 5, 6 times more to do the same exact work. It's not very technical, so to speak. And let's be honest, a lot of times if it's a profession that is very front-facing, admin work or receptionist work or something that they want a pretty face, a lot of times they're going to go with someone who is younger. And obviously that's incorrect, that's illegal and is wrong. But let's be honest, like he said, we know things happen that shouldn't happen all the time in life in general, and it's no different in hiring.
Are you over 50 and looking for a job and having a hard time doing that? I went back into the workforce after staying home with my daughter for 14 years at the age of 45 with no problems. I worked at that job for several years and then moved into another job in my early 50s. Again, no problems. When I interviewed in my early 50s for jobs, I had literally 6 jobs that were offered to me. I could take my pick to what I wanted. Now at 58, I got laid off in November. It is now the middle of March, and I still have not found another job. I have interviewed, I have applied, and either I don't hear back from people after the interview, or I never hear back after I send in the application. It's very strange. So I looked it up. And I've come to find out that...
Before she goes any further, I want to hop in and say this. We all know right now it's difficult to find a job for everyone. That's if you're 16, 18, 30, 40, 50 plus. It's just a hard economy. Companies are not hiring like they used to. And so she might be comparing her luck that she had maybe 4, 5, 10 years ago to the job market that we're currently in, which we all know is pretty bad.
Older people are not hired a lot of times because of younger bosses. Younger bosses don't want to be working with us oldsters. Our salary expectations are too high because we've been in the workforce. We cannot live on $14 an hour. I don't know how anybody can. Our health benefits are too high, even though I'm very healthy, knock on wood. Haven't had any issues, but I guess a lot of people my age do. So that's another issue. And then you're close to retirement, so they don't want to take the time to train you. And speaking of training, they think that people over 50 have no idea how to turn on a computer. Well, let me tell you, a lot of us do.
So this makes me wonder what kind of job she's applying for. Because again, I think that some jobs lend themselves to older employees. But I think if you're applying for administrative jobs or entry-level jobs or mid-career jobs, a lot of these people who are hiring you are going to be earlier in age. They're going to be a little bit younger, maybe in their 30s, late 20s, early 40s. And maybe they are going to take into consideration some of the stuff that she's talking about the people they're hiring not being too close to retirement, not costing too much money when it comes to health insurance or when it comes to the salary. So I think that it comes down to that mostly. Whereas if it's a search for like an executive position or a director level or above position, it's more likely they might go with someone who's a bit older, I think. So I think it comes down to the particular job and the particular industry that you're in. And again, it does come down to an element of ageism, because if the person who's trying to hire you is 35, maybe they are going to say, okay, I don't relate to this person as much because they're a bit older than me. Or maybe I don't want to have to deal with the dynamic of having someone who's 20 years my senior reporting to me, because that might be awkward. That might be odd. Some people might think that way. Again, is that how you should hire someone? Absolutely not. But again, things happen that shouldn't happen all the time. So at this point, we have the four big things, or the four big buckets, I would say, which is costing too much from a salary perspective, costing too much from an insurance perspective, being too close to retirement and maybe not sticking around long enough, and not being technologically savvy. So what do you think about that? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? Have you experienced this yourself? If you're someone who's 40, 50, 60 plus, let me know in the comment section if you're experiencing the issue of not being able to find work at your current age, and whether or not you think that these elements have anything to do with it.
Yeah, they want us to be Walmart greeters. I've given up trying to find a job now in my 50s because I've been told crap like I'm overqualified. I've been told we're going to go another way. I've been told that, one time I decided they were doing something that was really super simple and they wanted to hire somebody to do the thing. And I'm like, well, all you have to do is X and Y. And the IT guy on the call was like, oh, really? I'm like, yep. And that's why I screwed myself and anybody else out of that job, because it was, but so it's like, companies, they want to pay the lowest price possible. And when you're in your 50s, you want a higher price. You've worked yourself up to be what you are. And they don't want to pay that. And now with AI, they really don't want to pay it. They would rather hire somebody who knows very little, throw some AI at them, and then they can be mediocre at it. And in fact, mediocre, that's all they really want anyway.
Really quickly, it sounds to me like he's applying for very entry-level positions. If he was applying to a job and all it took was him to say, you can do X and Y, and they no longer needed that position to be filled, that lets me know that job may have not been that important. That may have just been a fix that their IT team should have done, which is what they did. And now he's talking about how AI is taking the place of people. AI is not at the point yet where it's replacing people doing high level tasks. It's more so the lower level tasks, let's say. Tasks that are more maybe manual, maybe more repetitive, don't really require much of a advanced level troubleshooting and thinking or problem solving. So it sounds to me like he might be applying for positions he is actually overqualified for. And the way he speaks, and I'm not saying he's a bad person for it, he just speaks from a place of he knows his worth, he's earned his worth, he's been in the workforce a while, he's very skilled and knowledgeable. And so he's kind of like, he speaks in a way like, this is not that big of a deal, which makes me think that he needs to aim for higher level positions that require more experience as opposed to what it seems like he's applying for.
Anyway, they don't need to be better. So yeah, I'm not going to be a freaking Walmart greeter. Anyway, so that's why I decided to write my own software, get some apps in the App Store, and do that kind of stuff. And it's hard. And so I'm pulling the self-employment stuff instead of dealing with the stupid companies, because screw them. So in my head, I work for Apple. That's my job. I don't officially work for Apple, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, all right, what I need to do is get my apps to work in the Apple ecosystem as best as possible, and to be integrated as best as possible so that I can sell them, and then Apple will maybe look at them and I'll get rewarded and somehow make $1 million. Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, so he's talking about working for himself, which, let's be honest, number one, you don't want to get laid off no matter what age you are. The ideal situation would be to continue working for the company you work for until retirement. You get a benefits package. Pensions are pretty much dinosaurs now. They don't exist, but if they do, you get a pension. If not, you get to retire with a nice chunk in your 401k or 403b, and maybe you're in your 60s or maybe even 70s, and now you have enough in a nest egg to where you don't have to work, and maybe you choose to be a Walmart greeter, or maybe you choose to be a Starbucks barista, or maybe you choose to be something that is not super technical because you don't need the money, you're doing it just so you're not bored, or you volunteer or whatever. Now you have situations where you're laid off at an older age, and now you think, okay, what do I do next? Do I try to go get another job in the career field that I've built myself up in? Or do I go my own way and try to make money from consulting or starting my own business or developing apps? And if you're in a position like this gentleman who seems like he's very knowledgeable and very skilled, it makes sense that he will go and develop apps. And I think that maybe that's kind of the better route to go if you have that type of experience and you're maybe 50, 60, you know what I mean? Versus trying to go back back into the employment sector. But of course, not everyone has that capability or ability, right? So he is in a position where he can develop apps. What if you're someone who's worked as a administrative assistant for the last 40 years and you're laid off unexpectedly? What do? It's kind of difficult to go into consulting as an administrative assistant. As an administrative assistant, you don't know how to build apps, most likely. And again, I'm not picking on administrative assistants, that's just an example. Or what if you worked in the medical field, if you've been a nurse for the last 40 years? Now, granted, it might be easier to go get a job in that area because there's a nursing shortage, etc. You get the idea. But the idea is, depending on what you've done for a living, if you're laid off at an older age, you may be in a more precarious situation than someone who said maybe they have skills that lend themselves to be able to do consulting, or that lend themselves to be able to develop apps or write code or sell their services without having a W-2 employer behind them.
So I just woke up realizing that I don't have a job. I have to say it, I'm unemployed. Wow. There was a lot of crying that went on yesterday because the shock value was it was freaking bad. Somebody's got to get better at letting people go because, dude, wow. Anyway, I don't think people are going to hire me because I'm 58 and I'm a woman. I'm excellent in my job. I'm freaking amazing at my job. I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I do social media, I do newsletters for companies, I do press kits, press releases. I'm actually a ghostwriter as a side hustle that I can't turn into a full-time thing at the moment, but I don't think people are going to hire me because they don't want someone 58.
So unfortunately, she's struggling from something called technical obsolescence. And everyone's talking a lot about AI right now, and rightfully so. The issue is, if you work in an industry like she used to work in, content strategy, copywriting, social media marketing, things like that, creative marketing, advertising, copywriting, your job is very vulnerable to AI. Because AI, especially generative AI, that's exactly what it's doing right now. And that's exactly who is displacing people in these industries. And actually, I did a video not too long where I talked about this, and I'll probably insert a bit of that into this video.
Well, now, is it the end of work as we know it? For a growing number of creatives in their 40s and 50s, the rise of social media and artificial intelligence is upending their careers. New York Times reporter Stephen Kurtz, who got his start at a magazine, has witnessed many in the, quote, unhappy middle experience this tough challenge.
A certain slice of Gen X. I mean, not doctors and bankers and construction workers. I'm talking specifically about people who went into media and image making in the 1990s. And, you know, these people and myself are now in their 40s and 50s. I'm Gen X as well. And if you're my age and you're in one of these fields, you either know people who this has happened to, where their job has basically become obsolete, or they're really struggling in their career, or it's happened to you, or you're one of the lucky survivors and you're afraid it's going to happen to you.
The idea is that people who are in their 50s, 60s, 40s, more so Gen X, who have been displaced by AI or have been let go because of layoffs or being fired or what have you, they're having a difficult time finding work because now their jobs, and even if it's not their entire job, a big portion of their job it can be done by AI. And honestly, a lot of what they're doing, younger people can do it. Because again, like I said earlier, maybe it's not like you'd want a younger person to be your pilot necessarily. You want someone that's a pilot or a surgeon to have a lot of experience. Whereas when it comes to these types of jobs, a lot of times companies are looking for people who have not maybe so much experience, but more so technical knowledge in these certain areas that they think older people don't have, and maybe a little more creativity, you know what I mean? So they're not really necessarily looking for someone that has a lot of experience. So again, if you're in a position like this woman is, who's in her 50s, late 50s, and has worked in this type of industry, it's tough. Unlike the other guy who's worked in tech, let's say, who was a programmer, I'm assuming, software engineer, something in that realm, he's in a position to where he can go work for himself and forge his own path much more easily than she can. However, that being said, with her skills, she could become a consultant. She could even become an AI consultant. She could learn how to use AI and combine that with her experience in marketing, her experience in content strategy and creation, and go sell her services to companies who are looking for that particular skill. So that's a route she could go if she's up for that. Not everybody's into entrepreneurship. Not everybody's built for it. So if she's looking for an employer, it may be a lot tougher for her than someone else like the guy we saw before.
I need some advice. I am a 33-year-old woman trying to find a job again. I had taken some time off. I quit my corporate job at the end or in the middle of 2022, was unhappy there. That's a long story. And now decided, okay, I need to get back into something, whether it's part-time, full-time, just something. I decided I can't do a sit-down desk job all day. I just can't do it. I want to like scratch my eyes out. So I applied for this job at it's a small local chain of coffee shops, working like 6 a.m. to noon, 4 days a week. So part-time, like helping in their kitchen. I'm like, I have never done anything in food service, but this is the perfect schedule and I'll get to move and I won't be stuck at a desk. And okay, sounds like a perfect scenario, right? Plus I do love their coffee. So we schedule a 30-minute like screening and interview for 10 a.m. this morning. And last night they sent me a Google Meet invite in my email inbox. I accepted it. This morning at 10 a.m., actually at 9:58, I join the Google Meet and I sit there and I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait. I waited until 10 after and no one joined the call. Nobody. I've never had this happen to me before. I've only ever done a couple of like Zoom virtual style interviews, and this has never been a problem before where the interviewer just didn't show up. So after 10 minutes, I left the call. I sent an email back to the person who organized the interview right away saying, hey, this is what happened. Let me know if I got the time wrong or if you need to reschedule, but this is not my fault. Anywho, I want to know, like, is 10 minutes enough? Should I have waited longer? Or is this just the day and age that we live in? Because unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think the people organizing this interview are younger. I don't want to post judgments on the younger generation from me, but like, come on. You set up this interview. Like, what the heck are you doing? Where are you? So yeah, give me honest opinions. Like, would you have waited longer?
Okay, so I included this because this woman is only 33, or she was 33 when she made this video, right? And I said only 33 because she's around my age, early to mid 30s. And so personally speaking, I don't think she fits the category of older employee necessarily. I don't think I fit the category of older employee. That being said, the position she was applying for sounds like a position to where a lot of people who work it are a lot younger. And it sounds kind of weird to say a lot younger when you're 33, but let's say they're 23. Let's say they're 18, 19, 20. And so they're Generation Z. And so maybe now, even people that are in their early to mid to late 30s are experiencing ageism. Do I think that's what happened here? Not necessarily. I think it may just be poor management at the place she applied to, because at the very least, you're gonna show up to the interview and make something up to where you don't want to hire the person. So I think that's what happened here. I don't think they looked at her and said, oh, she's an older employee, we don't want to deal with her. Let's give her a fake interview and not show up. I don't think that happened. I think it's just poor management, which I wouldn't want to work there anyways if that's the case. But it's interesting I add this in because I don't know. When does it start? When does it start? I think a lot of times now in corporate America anyways, a lot of the people who are moving into middle management and upper management are going to be millennials, older millennials, let's say. People born 1990 and earlier, because a millennial I think starts at 82-ish. So people born in the 80s mainly. And so that's where you get the videos of people saying, oh, the person that was hiring for me was younger, I'm in my 50s, and they don't want to work for somebody, or they want someone who's 50, 60 working because all the reasons we already named. In this scenario, you might be dealing with someone who may be 22, 23, a Gen Z, and going, do I really want to come and work with a older person, an older millennial every day? Which to me, again, sounds weird, and again, is wrong. I don't have to say that, I think we all know that. But I think that's what she's trying to get out here, maybe, or maybe she's trying to say that because they were younger, they are less reliable, less professional. She could be saying that. I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in her mouth. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think that she's saying they're just unprofessional because they're younger and they just don't know what they're doing? Or because they're younger, they don't want to hire her because they don't want to work with an older employee? With that being said, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. This is a big thing. I have plenty of videos on this at this point because I'm hearing more and more of these things happening. And let me know what you think. Do you think it's a real situation that's going on? And if so, what can we do about it? With that being said, I really appreciate it if you made it this far in the video. Feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you feel so too inclined. And until next time, make smart financial decisions.